Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Sandy Potter, along with Masonicare President and CEO, JP Venoit, Dr. Ronald Schwartz, our Senior Director for Continuum Health Services, and we're very happy to have a special guest with us once again this week, Pat McCoy. He is the Manager of Materials Management for Masonicare. Welcome, Pat. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me back again.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you. During the pandemic, you have led the way in securing PPE for the entire Masonicare continuum. We'd love for you to reflect back on how this experience has been for you, both professionally and personally.
Well, again, it started over a year ago, as we all know. It started with the toilet tissue, and it just led into everything else. The very beginning, loop mask. I used to keep about 1,500 on hand back in early February. Today, I have about 550,000 on hand during the course of the year. Either buying it, which we were in the beginning, we were paying 4 cents a piece. And at one time, I was paying $1.50 a mask, which, Masonicare had to take a big hit on that one. There was a lot of other things. The N95 mask, another big project. Beginning, we only had about 70 N95 masks. And they were sitting on the shelf for a couple of years because they were really never being using loop masks. Today, we have about 17,000 on hand a year later. Again, another costly thing. We're paying up to $5 for an N95 mask at the prime time. Fortunately enough, as time went on, DPH and the National Guard, they were always doing inspections here, and I always had to give them a tour down here in the basement, show them everything to prove this is what I have on hand, because it is reported back to the state what I have on hand, and they want to physically come and see it. So it became a weekly thing. Sometimes it was twice a week. They also made all nursing homes keep a 30-day supply that was separated from everything else. So I got that all marked off, taped off, that nobody's allowed to touch it. N95 masks are basically kept in my office, where anybody in the building, nursing supervisors, come in. They're sitting all behind me, and when they get low, then I replenish the stock. So I had one key location that was behind the storeroom, and then it was locked up in the office. And staff, not once, not a staff was neglected to get a mask. We had to skip how we had to use them, or be cautioned how we were using them. But, all in all, throughout the whole continuum, it's been a wonderful, it was a challenging experience, but it was a wonderful outcome at the end. Because not once were able to give out any of the PPE supplies to anybody in the whole corporation. That's including the houses, home health and hospice, all the branches, the health center, Ashland Village. So it was challenging. It was stressful times. As I told JP many a times, just one-to-one we were talking how stressful it was, and he understood. But I had a great team. They had to pick up a lot of this slack. Lynn Mangello, which is my other backup person, she did a lot of research, always looking to buy from multiple vendors, because as time went on, everything became an allocation. You can't buy from this vendor. You're only getting 2 boxes of gloves, which is impossible, for us as a corporation to go on. So we were constantly shopping, getting the best price. And there's a lot of scams out there. So I was a little not happy if we had to go outsource it and try to buy from people I never bought before. As everybody knows, the N95 mask, the 3Ms, there was a big scam on it. They weren't 3M, and they were not good masks. So I never bought them. But the state came through. The state helped us, as Masonicare helped us out a real lot as time went on. Because in the beginning, we were just using homemade masks. Then it went to loop masks. Then it went to KN95 masks. Then it went to N95 masks. But the state came through. Disposable gowns was another big problem. We had to end up using ponchos at the beginning. We even thought about using plastic bags in the beginning because we couldn't get no gowns. Then we ended up buying reusable gowns. And the state was really monitoring that because they wanted to know how many washings. They were only good for so many washings. Believe it or not, they went to the gowns. Laundry was marking them, and they were watching it very closely. And then as time goes on, everything else just turned into one thing after another. And as of today, which is April 7th, nitrile gloves, it's still a major problem worldwide because of Malaysia. They've been shut down for a while, and that's where most of your gloves come from. And just giving us nitrile gloves, the people that really do need them, that have skin problems. So we're able to still buy them, and we're able to give them out, and we never neglected nobody not getting them, but we just fortunately how we give them out. So, like I said, yeah, there was a lot of loss of sleep here at work, not at work sleeping, but sleeping at home. I, just thinking, tossing every night, where am I getting my next product? Me and Lynn would sit down together, then do more research, and then I got to thank the staff throughout the whole continuum, because I was getting a lot of emails from everybody. Oh, here. They got an overabundance of deliveries. They would send it back to me, so I was able to pass it on to another continuum area. Might be Ashland Village or Pond Ridge or the health center. But I knew we'd get through it. It is challenging times for everybody, not just Masonicare, but it was challenging times for everybody in whole. But it came out good, and I'm very proud of it.
As you should be, Pat. What a process you've been through there. And JP, I know the incredible effort that Pat and his entire team showed throughout this past year has been very inspiring and so very crucial to keep all of our team members safe.
Pat and his staff did an absolutely amazing job at keeping up with all the changes that were happening, the price gouging that was happening, the demands of really our system on Pat was immense, and his staff truly did an amazing job. So Pat, thank you to you and all your staff for everything you did. When we think about the all the PPE that had to be procured during this time, we're over a year now since we've been battling this terrible virus. And when you think about all of the PPE we had to go through and what we went through was truly amazing. Pat and I talked about this quite extensively with regards to, you thought you had a pallet of face shields coming, and come to find out the day before, FEMA takes the pallets and ships them off to New York instead of us. And the anxiety level of knowing, geez, at first you're excited, you're getting the pallet, and then the next day you find out you're not. And that anxiety level just goes through the roof. And Pat and really all of his staff continued to look at sourcing other means of getting our supplies. And to add on to that, Pat is one of those individuals that's really looking at the best interest of the organization and making sure that we're not overpaying. And I think he's done an absolutely amazing job. Just recently I sent Pat an email on 3-ply masks, these, and they're 6 cents right now. And I know Pat said, hey, they were 4 cents before COVID, and at the height of COVID we were paying what, Pat, $1 something
a piece for one singular mask.
How much was that?
$1.50.
$1.50 on something that was 4 cents just a week before COVID actually hit. So those are some of the things that we're dealing with. Not only the shortage of getting them, but how much they were costing all of the organization to acquire that. And Pat, I said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again. Thank you for all that you did. Thanks to you and your efforts, it allowed our staff to really be able to provide the care that they were during probably the most stressful time, and having that barrier to protect from potentially getting that virus themselves was really due to really a large part in everything that you and your department did. So thank you for everything that you did. It's truly appreciated. And though the virus is not gone and it's still an uphill battle for us, I'm comforted to know that we have a large supply of PPE to help us combat this, again, terrible virus. So, Pat, thank you. Thank you to all your staff for everything that you guys have done.
Thank you, and thank you for the leadership, and Dr. Schwartz too. Also, that was a great help too, having a doctor with us too, even on the task force meeting, for his input. So it was very wonderful.
And such a wonderful, true team effort. And in Dr. Schwartz's medical news this week, we began hearing reports about what is being called a double mutant COVID variant. Can you please explain to us what this means?
I'll certainly do my best, Sandy, but maybe just to start, I did want to acknowledge Pat as well. He and I have been friends and colleagues a long, long time. And, actually, in the real heart of the pandemic, Pat was named one of the healthcare heroes from Connecticut Magazine. So that's a major honor. I can only think where I'd be if it weren't for you having to go up into the isolation unit and not having enough equipment and PPE. It would be a very serious situation for me and all the residents. So thank you. So having said all that, now we turn to the news and the medical news, and there's always something new going on. And Sandy, you're right. There was a report of a new variant, a double mutant variant of COVID-19 virus that was found initially in India. And actually earlier this week, this double mutant was actually found in Santa Clara County, California. So, what a double mutant is where two different mutations come together in the same virus. And the real question is, do these mutants make the virus more potent, more transmissible, and less affected by vaccines? And that's what we'll talk about, as I go forward. But we've talked about how mutations work, and that I've said in the past, the COVID-19 virus is an RNA virus, like the flu, and an RNA virus mutates. It's just the way things happen. And the target of the mutation is the spike protein. So here you have two different mutations in the same virus. And if you're interested in more specifics, I can give you one is the E484Q. It's hard to remember all this stuff, and L452R. So these are the mutations, just in case you hear them or you want to know. And the good thing is most scientists that have been studying this seem to feel that the vaccines are still effective, at least in their primary endpoint. And what's the primary endpoint? To try to prevent moderate to severe disease, try to prevent hospitalizations, respiratory failure, and death. So, there is a good chance that, the vaccines will still be effective in this way, but there also is, this phenomenon of what they call reinfection, which means it is possible that people, because of these kinds of mutations that were vaccinated or did have did recover from COVID in the past, could be reinfected. But what it looks like is that if they are reinfected, it's a much milder type of infection than that you would see, if you were never vaccinated or you never were infected with COVID in the first place. So the only other, comment to make is that, if the virus is mutating and able to continue to spread, it may be able to penetrate through herd immunity. And this may end up leading to the most frail of our population, which is the population we take care of, being more susceptible to severe disease. So it brings me, and the same message JP and I say every week, to the take-home point of the importance of still staying vigilant, wearing masks, hand washing, avoiding crowds, avoiding travel when possible. And again, the most important thing I can emphasize over and over again is to get vaccinated for all these reasons. So now I'll talk to Pat for a minute. And what I do at the end of my presentation is I find an inspirational quote to help me and hopefully my fellow employees get through the week. So nicely enough, and I've had a lot of inspirational quotes, so my friend Annie from last week from Chester Village, she actually sent me this quote. And it's a quote from a Japanese writer, and his name, I want to say it correctly, Haruki Murakami. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he actually had work translated into more than 50 different languages. And he actually won the Jerusalem Prize for writing. So listen to this quote and see what you think. Once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain, when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. So that almost brings tears to my eyes. You know, it's like, when you think about it, I don't think any of us are the same as we were before this started, and I don't think we'll ever be the same again. But what I do know is we stick together, we work together, just like Pat and his team and all the great people we work with. So again, I really want to thank everybody for their hard work, their dedication, and once again, wish everybody health and peace.
Wow, Dr. Schwartz, we can't thank you enough for that. It's just the perfect words. Well, I want to thank all of you for sharing your time and your insights with us today. As always, it's very much appreciated. And we thank you for joining us at home. Until we see you next, we hope you'll stay safe and stay well.